And we're joined by Davis Kyle, the youngest candidate running for City Council. But you don't want to talk about age. You got other topics on mind.
Well, you know, Kent, I'm not running to be a young candidate. I'm running to be a prepared candidate. And honestly, I've been going to council meetings since November. I've knocked on thousands of doors in our community, and I have the most detailed policy platform of anyone running to be a city councillor. I don't think really it matters to be a young candidate. It matters to be a prepared candidate. I want to talk about, the ideas that I have for Kelowna, the changes I want to make, and, let's talk about it.
So what topped your list?
Well, I think that people talk about that they haven't been heard at the council table. They want to see some change. They feel that council isn't necessarily listening as much as they used to. And I'm glad to see other candidates supporting a ward system. I was the first candidate to support a ward system. I think it's a great way to have that neighborhood by neighborhood representation of a community. I've experienced in this. I've submitted proposals to provincial and federal redistricting commissions, making sure that Kelowna has a good voice both in Ottawa and in Victoria. So I think bringing those principles to City Hall, where you have representation neighborhood by neighborhood, I think it's a better way to have decisions that are in Kelowna's best interests as a whole.
Okay, council after council has tried their best to address issues like homelessness. Do you have any great ideas on where we can go to address that issue?
Yeah, it's tough. You have to start with the housing first, and that means mental health treatment and drug abuse treatment and supports and just making sure that people are off the streets and into housing. But it can't just be about taxpayers' money. Vancouver has great policies now for cross-subsidized social housing. That's when regulations are changed at City Hall to support nonprofit builders to come in. 70% of units are market rent, and then 30% of units are subsidized by those 70%. They're deeply affordable so that single mothers and seniors, low-income seniors at risk of homelessness, they have a place to go. It's about prevention as well. And then we can just step back and talk about market rate housing. It comes down to supply and demand. You can tap down on the artificial and toxic forms of demand. That's talking about vacant houses and secondary suites that aren't being used properly, but it's also just about ending exclusionary zoning. That's like a position endorsed by Conservative leadership candidates federally, the Ontario Green Party. That's about more houseplexes, townhomes, 2 and 3 bedroom, wood frame, ground-oriented structures that have private backyards so that, kids have a place to play. It's more livable than trying to raise kids in a studio apartment on a busy road, but it's more affordable too. Young professionals, families, people like me, we need that missing middle housing because it's just more affordable for people to live when they can't afford a detached home.
We see the city reaching for hundreds of homes at a time by building high-rises. Do you sort of oppose that way of thinking?
Well, it's not my priority. I think there's good environmental considerations to focus on mass timber and wood frame. In the downtown core, people talk about needing high rises, and it's important, we do. I think the disagreement comes from City Hall when they see variances. We just need to have a by-the-books approach where you have a specific height for a specific area, and council sticks with it because I think the community understands that. I think that was one of the problems with the official community plan. Council expected to see some extra density, and I think we need more housing. We are desperately short of market rate housing for the people who already live here, for the university students. But people just want to see that consistency. They would like to know exactly how many stories are going where. They don't want to feel like, there's any artificial considerations there. So I support high rises, but just not as a priority. I think the missing middle, avoiding the sprawl, the environmental destruction and the fire risk at the edge of town is the most important to me. But that missing middle and that higher density living when it's appropriate, because we need it, we can have some of that too. It's important.
So you've been preparing for this, attending council, you say since November?
Since November. I think it's important to have city councillors that are ready to hit the ground day one, running, ready to go with policies. I've knocked on so many doors. I'm ready to make some changes for a more affordable Kelowna, a more livable Kelowna. People can reach out to me at kyleforkelowna@gmail.com. They can go to my website, talk about, infrastructure, talk about public safety. These are important issues, and I think Kelowna needs change.
So many great candidates like yourself, but last election, what did we see? There was one seat vacated. Every incumbent gets reelected. It's tough for a lot of great candidates to find a place on a new council.
All I can do is my best. I'm knocking on doors. I want to meet people. I'd love to talk to you. Please feel free to reach out. And, I would appreciate your support on October 15th.
All right, great to meet you. And thank you for watching Kelowna Now.